It's May the 29th, and welcome to Morning Message. My dad told me the story about one time he was traveling through New England on behalf of the Nova Scotia government. And in the middle of the night, he found himself in an airport. It wasn't a busy airport, so there weren't very many people around. And Dad decided to go for a walk away from the other people that he was traveling with. And down at the other end of the airport, he found one of those little machines that you can get a newspaper from. And so Dad decided to get a newspaper. He got one, put the change in, got one out, and went to walk away, and his trench coat was caught in the machine. And that's not a big problem. Dad reached into his pocket to get more change to free himself, only to discover that he didn't have the right change to open up the machine again. So Dad, and those of you who know Dad know that this is exactly how he would have reacted. Dad stood there, opened up the paper, started reading, and waited for someone to come along. Eventually, one of the cleaning staff appeared, and Dad asked for a quarter or whatever it took to free himself from the newspaper machine, and he was free. I think of that story because that's kind of how I make up these morning messages. I get caught in a machine, so I have a story. Because those kinds of things, this is how I take after Dad, in this way anyway. Those weird little things seem to happen to me every day. So as many days as I've lived, I have these weird little stories like Dad had. So I have all these stories, and the exercise for me, and it's been a really positive exercise for me, it's been very helpful over these months, is to take one of these stories and to pair it with a faith-based message. In other words, I don't really have to wait long for someone from the cleaning staff to come along and pair up with this story, with the story that I want to share. That's kind of how these things work. Sunday mornings is a little bit more difficult, preaching on Sunday mornings, because you have the point you want to make appear first, and then I have to think of a story that might match it, and I'm not always able to do that. But it's kind of in reverse for Sunday mornings. But those of you who are familiar with my preaching know that that's exactly how I preach. I usually take a story, some weird little thing that might have happened to me or somebody else, and pair it with the principal messages of that particular Sunday morning. So this has been a really positive exercise for me. When we started it all those months ago, it was before Easter. I made a commitment of doing this daily, and I think thinking it was a 2 or 3 week commitment, that after Easter, or perhaps even by Easter, we would have been back to normal, back in church and worshiping as we had been. It hasn't worked out that way, as you know. Things have progressed. Things have stretched out to be a much longer time than we anticipated. I've continued doing the morning messages because I think it's therapeutic for me, and the feedback that I've gotten from many of you is that you found it helpful as well, and I'm certainly glad to hear that. But I need to let you know today that after Pentecost, so starting next week, the frequency of the morning messages is going to change. I have to cut back a little bit because we're working a little bit more diligently at the office to try to get things up and running for that time when we can open up our facility again. And also in the meantime, we'll be learning new technologies in terms of live streaming Sunday morning worship. So there's lots of pressures, lots of things going on there, which I need to be attentive to. I don't want to give up the morning messages. As I said, I found it therapeutic, and others seem to enjoy it as well. So I plan on continuing to do them, just not as frequently. Now, there might be weeks when there's lots of ideas and I decide to share them every day. There might be weeks where some of the messages are geared specifically towards the people of St. Paul's, but I imagine that most of the time it'll be similar to what we've done in the past. And I think so you don't miss them, you're certainly able to get some sort of notification on both Facebook and YouTube, whichever way you're watching these, and not miss any of the morning messages. So I don't know how much of a change it's going to be in the future, but my plan is to be more attentive to the parish office and my responsibilities there, and to do these as often as I can. And I don't want to set a schedule to say Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, but 2 or 3 times a week. The morning messages will certainly continue, and I hope you continue to enjoy them, because I certainly have. And that there's a certain set of creative juices that flow every morning to try and pair that weird story with a faith-based message. But that energy, I think, informs the rest of my day, and I've really enjoyed this, and I felt a blessing from it. And my hope and prayer is that you too have been and will continue to be blessed by these morning messages, and that today particularly you will feel God's blessing. So, God bless. Amen.